Hi guys, and welcome back from Carly at the Herbathicary, and today's video is my 9 favorite ways to use the powerhouse that is my favorite, the dandelion. So I am not trained as a doctor or in ethnobotany. I just own a really good guidebook, really love foraging, and have been using these for a while for my own health. So please do your own thorough research and don't eat anything unless you're 100% sure. Now, the dandelion is probably one of the first things that we start foraging. So easy to identify. The Taraxacum officinale, or Dandelion, with its lion's teeth, comes in different sizes, and sometimes you've got a red stem. All pretty good at identifying this one. But there's high in antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antibacterial, wonderful flower, boosts the immune system, can help with fat digestion, regulate blood sugar. Parts of it have been used to combat certain cancer cells, helps with kidney infections, helps you flush all the free radicals out of your system by making you wee more and making your wee more efficient. The greens are also believed to be high in vitamin C, A, K, and E, vitamin cake, and high in folate. So today we are going to start at the very tippy top of the plant with these beautiful flowers and 3 recipes to use them. So we're going to start with the tea. So I've brought some hot water to a bowl, and I've given my flowers a good rinse and let them sit for about 30 minutes to let any buggies make their way off. Remember to pick your dandelions from somewhere that hasn't had dogs going for a walk or pets, and they don't use any pesticide sprays. Now, once that water's cooled a little bit, I'm going to pop these into my tea strainer, I guess. I think it's actually for coffee, but I'm going to pop a couple of flowers in there and then pop the hot water on top and allow that to steep for 20 minutes. I'm actually going to add some of my dried nettle leaves as well because I like the way they taste. So we'll pop them in there, fill that up with water, and allow that to steep for 30 minutes for a lovely 20 minutes for a lovely cup of tea. We don't want it to get too cold. And on to recipe 2 and 3. So we're going to want to dry all our flowers off for this as dry as possible. So I pop them on it is a clean dishcloth. It just looks a little stained because I normally put tea leaves and things on it. So recipe 2 is a dandelion flower infused apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to pop some of the flower heads in one of my clean vinegar jars. Now do remember to give these a good clean and make sure that they are free of any particles, otherwise your food will go funny. So I'll pop some in there and then I'll pop the others into a jam jar, and recipe 3 is a dandelion infused honey. Now at this part I'll probably clean up a few of those stems. I'd prefer not to have them in there, although they won't make any difference. So we've got some apple cider vinegar, and I am just going to top the vinegar bottle up with that and make sure that all the flowers are covered. Pop the cork on and pop that into the fridge to infuse for at least a week, sometimes longer. And then the others in our jar, we are just going to do the same thing with honey, top that up and leave that to infuse for, again, a couple of weeks. I will probably use mine tomorrow morning though. So it's been about 20 minutes. I'll pop these on the side quickly, and time to give our tea a go. There doesn't appear to be much change in colour, however the flavour is lovely. Now you can add a dash of honey to this, however I'm not going to. I like it just the way it is. And now we're all nice and warmed up, I'm off outside to clean up the rest of the dandelion plant that I unearthed. Now as you can see, although these leaves haven't been sprayed, they do have some dust or sand or something on them, so I will clean up what I can, see if I can get any leaves to eat out of this. I took most of the open flowers off this plant already for the other 2 recipes, but let's have a look at these roots and get them cleaned up. Now I do advise that you do this outside in a bucket first before you bring them in, because all that muck will just clog up the drain. So back inside with a very, very healthy looking root system here. She's definitely making up for those sad looking leaves. So I'm just going to grab my big knife and we will separate this root from the rest of our greens, and that brings us to use number 4 for the dandelion. Mostly the Russian version of the dandelion, but this sap or latex that you'll see secreting from the stem, also from the stalk, is a really good substitute for rubber. They currently use about 30% dandelion in the Russian tires, I believe. And next on to those leaves and recipes 5 and 6. Now, as you saw, not all of these leaves were very nice. Some of them were quite dirty. They were also very big. Now, the bigger they are, the tartar they are. They're quite bitter. Although that bitterness is a good thing because it helps with the urinary part of it, they're not very nice to eat that way fresh. So I'm going to clean up as many of these as I can. So I shall separate out the larger ones and the smaller ones for our next 2 recipes. And once they're all washed, I'll have another quick sort through because looks like I missed some of the dirty, icky ones. So the smaller, milder ones will go in recipe number 5, which is a lovely fresh salad, and I shall probably top that off with some of the dandelion infused apple cider vinegar and a bit of oil, and then we shall move on to our next recipe, recipe number 6, with those larger leaves. And making a hearty dandelion leaf stew or soup, I guess, for later on this evening. So the ingredients would be an onion, some parsley, a few potatoes, some garlic, and some olive oil, along with your dandelion leaves. This would make a bigger one. I'm just going to make a 1-person batch today. So about half of 1 finely chopped onion goes into our pan with some finely chopped garlic, and 2 tablespoons is approximately how much oil I used, but I also use a dandelion leaf infused oil, so that would be technically number 10, but there are so many more uses than we know. So all that I've spoke about on this, I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar because I want to crisp or caramelize my onions, because I'm going to add some water and use that as a broth. And once nicely caramelized, I add about 2 cups of water and bring that back to the heat. Giving it a good stir so all the caramelized bits of the onions mix in. We can then add our potatoes at this point and our parsley and continue to heat until our potatoes are nice and soft. I don't add my dandelion leaves until my potatoes are soft because I don't want them to cook too much. They just go all sloppy and slimy. And I actually added in half of a small chopped carrot. And after around 20 minutes, my potatoes were nice and soft, so I'll add in my dandelion leaves and allow them to cook for probably only a further 4 or 5 minutes. And as hubby prefers a smoother, creamier soup, I'll pop his through the blender just to break some of the chunks down, but I like mine chunky, so I'm just going to spoon it straight in. So recipe number 6 is a healthy, hearty soup. However, they can be substituted where you would normally use any leafy greens. So now onto those fabulous roots and the last 3 uses. Now I've given the roots a very good wash and I'm going to give them a fine chop. We don't want the pieces too big because I find that stops them from dehydrating properly and they rot before you get them. So number 7, we will just dry these out and pop them in a jar like this to be used as small snacks. They have a bit of a crunch like peanuts, and my dog absolutely loves them as treats and mixed in with his food. And once completely dry, these can be ground up and used for number 8. You can buy these little empty capsules on Amazon and mix with other herbs like dried nettle leaf to make a really healthy supplement. You don't have access to the fresh materials. So finally on to number 9, which is my favorite, and we are going to take some of those dried roots and we are going to roast them and make a caffeine-free coffee supplement. So just for one, I'm going to pop some in there, stick them in my oven till they're nice and brown, and then we are going to grind them up in my wonderful coffee grinder until we have this beautiful fine powder, which is pretty much indistinguishable from normal coffee. Trust me, I am a coffee snob. So into my mocha it goes, and let's try our beautiful caffeine-free dandelion root coffee substitute. As you can see, it looks exactly like coffee. You can add a bit of honey or a bit of brown sugar to it. In fact, I think I might use that little bit that was left over from caramelizing our onions and give this a go. So that's my 9 wonderful ways to use the humble dandelion from top to tip. Thank you guys for coming back to Carly at the Herbathocary. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Let us know what we're doing right.